Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 92 of the Titanforge podcast. Now featuring me saying the correct episode number.
Oh my god. Good job, Brandon.
For the first time in 10 episodes.
In quite a while.
Let's go.
This week we have a very special guest. We have Undadtv, Raider with BDGG, M+ competitor, and I'll level with you guys. The reason we have him on this week is Great Push this weekend, and the qualifiers were last weekend. And all of the teams that qualified are, of course, very busy this week. But there were 6 teams that qualified, and that 7th team was Undadtv's team here. So we have him on as an expert on the
enjoying my time off. Let's go, dude.
Yeah. So how did you enjoy the whole Great Push qualifying experience? Was it kind of fun, kind of cool?
It was awesome. I mean, we didn't put in that much time, so it wasn't really as stressful as some of the other teams have been like very stressed for 3 weeks, but we kind of we practiced for like 2 or 3 days and then literally took 2 weeks off and then practiced the day before and just came in and had fun together. I don't know. I've been playing with those guys this whole expansion just as friends, so it was nice to just see how well we could do.
Yeah, that's sweet. I'm glad it was is cool. I think that it was nice to see. Of course, the more serious teams have a go at it, but also a bunch of friend squads trying to compete as well and doing pretty good as well. I mean, coming very close to surprise qualifying right at the end there.
One dungeon off that we were in 20 minutes before the timer ran out and depleted. So what are you gonna do?
I think you guys were playing some non-meta stuff too, right? Like Holy Priest. I saw. Was there something else?
Yes, we played Warlock and Spires. Unironically, Warlock is OP in that dungeon. I swear to God. I swear our comp was actually the correct comp for that dungeon. I'm not like saying that just to like get a rise or like cool off meta stuff. Like I think Warlock was actually insane in Spires because we were not good at running dungeons and we randomly would just be in time after making 100 mistakes. So I think the Warlock carried us.
He was playing Siphon Life in there, right?
Yeah, he was pretty much just playing, like, his cooldown timings were very good for just, like, priority stuff and boss damage. Like, he was doing same overall as the Boomy, but on all the big pulls, he did no damage. But, like, still did, like, really high overall, so.
Yes. Yeah, so it was on the single target, the bosses and stuff. Yeah. I mean, that does
Hellstones are
like
sick, too. Hellstones are so sick, man. You don't have to commit things to Pride because you have Health Pot Hellstone for every Pride, and the second and third boss were like the walls of the dungeon. So having Hellstone on those 2 bosses is really big, especially because you're playing H-Pal who like is not a healer. Like your Moonkin is healing those bosses more than your H-Pal is, so.
True.
That's just the way it is. I don't know, man.
I had a question. What was it like having a 6th man in voice with you guys?
It was like, I don't know, Ave didn't really do anything. We kind of like told him to come in and then he just like was there hanging out more so than like coaching or anything. Like it wasn't really like we were just like hanging out with Ave. That was really what it was, more so than him doing anything.
That's a cool strat.
Yeah, I tuned in to Greg's stream, I think, and you guys were like in that final key the last 20 minutes. And then I heard just Ave come out of nowhere and he's like, "Oh, I just found this new tech in this random dungeon that you're not in."
Yeah, we're like, dude, this is like the qualifying dungeon. We have to focus on specifically this, man. Like, what are you talking about?
All right, so just some quick administrative stuff. Next show is going to be not this coming weekend because we have Great Push, but then we're going back to weekends afterwards. So it'll be Sunday, June 6th, and that is the next live show, and then we'll go back to Saturdays after that, is the plan. Also, we have a shout out to Team Catgirl Bathwater, who competed in the Keystone Builders tournament a couple hours ago. As of now, this was a cool little
5 of our patrons.
Yeah, cool community tournament where you had 2 hours to push up a +2 key as high as you could go, and I think they won the whole thing, right?
It's still ongoing, so they don't know yet, but it's looking real good for them because I think they have like more than double the next place team's points.
So by the time this goes out, not live, but once it's on the YouTube and everything, they definitely won. There's no shot anybody else caught him.
Absolutely no way.
Okay, so big congratulations to them. So let's talk a little bit more about the Great Push and the MDI and everything. And for those who don't know, Undad, you have competed in the MDI itself at different times in the past. What's your MDI history been?
Okay, I played Reaping Season. we did really poorly, but we qualified for every cup, so I guess that was nice. I played Beguiling Season with Trell. We played on a team called No Girls Allowed. That had some controversy around us, but we were the team with the only girl
did
in the
actually have
tournament.
a girl.
So got them. We did pretty well that season. We would have made it to globals had not there was like a technicality that prevented us, but we actually did really well that season. I had a lot of fun. And then I played Awaken Season with like a scuffed roster where I was tanking, and we did very bad. And I guess that's it. I think I played in some KSM tournaments with Trell and some other guys too. Yeah, push keys really. Last time I really pushed keys like on live was season 1. I've been like retired since Infested season, just like doing old man stuff.
Hold on, Cody Kickflip is premier right now. He's in his prime.
Look, Cody Kickflip's getting there. I actually feel very powerful on that character now, but it's like we'll probably push this week and see how we do. But we just like we're boomers, man. Like we don't start till Greg gets home from work, which is 8 o'clock Eastern, and then BDG raids at 10 o'clock Eastern until 2 in the morning. So like we get like 4 hours each day to play. Kind of we sneak in a couple keys before raid, and then we sneak in a couple keys after raid. So we don't really play that much. I don't know. We have a lot of fun when we do that.
Welcome to the boomer schedule. I honestly think that enough people are good at Mythic Plus now and the all day to play category of time that us boomers just can't keep up anymore.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Can't do it this season, man.
We cannot. I think that's why the Great Push was so cool for us to play in, because it was just like we set aside some time on the weekend and we're just like, let's see if we can keep up. And then we were like 1 key level behind with very minimal practice, which was really cool. Like just for us to be like, yo, we're actually like still kind of good at the game. Like this is sick.
Wait, you guys had never done a 20. What was your highest key done prior to the Great Push?
A 24, I think, on live.
Okay, and so you did almost a 27 during the Great Push.
Yeah, Spires,
really
I don't think
cool,
we ever walked into higher than 24, and we were very close to timing 26 Spires. And yeah, I don't know. It was cool. It was cool to like to feel that progression, right? Like it was back to a lot of like what made MDI so fun was every day you got better, like noticeably better through your practice, and noticing ourselves, especially in Necrotic Wake towards the end there, like all of a sudden it clicked and we were just 100 times better than the first run of the day. That kind of feeling is like, I think why anybody competes in any of this stuff to begin with. Like that's what you're searching. That's like the dragon you're chasing, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Something that seems impossible suddenly is on farm the next day. Stuff like that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I definitely get that vibe. That's definitely the kind of thing that, you know, you get so much of that when you're first getting into it, and then it sort of eases off and it gets harder and harder to come by. But I think the Great Push gave a big injection of that for a lot of the people who competed in those qualifiers. What did you feel? So you were talking about practice time a little bit there. How much practice time had you done for the previous MDIs? Had you also done those off of fairly light schedules, or did you feel like those required a lot more?
I don't know. Previous MDIs we went about as ham as we could have. Like the moment everybody was around till the moment everybody felt like they had to sleep. Like it was like forcing ourselves to play as much as we could to try to keep up. Especially after like the first cup of every season. The first cup is a little bit difficult to kind of gauge how good everybody's going to be, like how much time you need in what dungeons. But once you see like those first times and that first time trials for MDI, it's like, okay, like we're clearly behind. We need to put in a lot of time now. And you start like ramping up the practice time to, I don't know, kind of what you've seen most of the better teams in the Great Push do, where it's like 12 to 14 hours a day, just slamming dungeons.
So much work.
Yeah, it's this version or this like strategy was way better. I liked it a lot more.
It's 2 days only.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that the reason you were able to have such a good amount of success, I mean, obviously you didn't quite make it, but like it was really close. Do you think that this structure has better practice time implications than traditional MDI, or do you think it was just a case of like, hey, it's a one-off event, it's not this kind of regular season that we're committing to, and so we just didn't practice as much, and if we had, we would have done, you know, 5th or 4th or whatever?
I don't know. I think I don't know how much the format contributed to us like not practicing, more so in the players on our team just being in different headspace this time around and like wanting different things out of it. Because I mean, like you look to the top teams and they did practice a lot. like as soon as Tournament Realm came out. I think that was actually like a problem, and I think that in the future, I think they'll fix that. Is how early some teams got Tournament Realm just because there were other tournaments going on that you could apply to
and
like
several weeks
practice way ahead of time.
We'll be playing in this Keystone Masters tournament, of course. Oh, we get Tournament Realm access a month early. Oh.
Yeah, which I mean, we signed up for too for that reason, but we didn't end up utilizing it. We were just like, all right, whatever, like we'll play when the tournament comes around. But I think that like in the future, like if they minimize that, I think the tournament will feel a lot less stressful to all the teams involved, and will be just a lot more fun for everybody. I think maybe like a week in advance, couple days in advance, getting access to just make sure you have characters set up and everything is probably the best way to go about it.
Dude, I worry about burnout with shit like that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I wonder if like setting up your character during the tournament should be part of it as well. And it's like,
dude, it's such a pain to set up Tournament Realm characters. Do you remember when they had Quinn have to like reset up his character in the middle of that Karazhan because his character was named like Quinn Sex?
Oh yeah, he named his character Quinn Sex, and then he was like, "It's Quinn Sex, it's Quinn Sex," and you're like, "You're an idiot for naming it that. You know what you're doing."
No, I think setting up characters ahead of time is definitely good because you have time to talk to other players that are like in your role and try to like, because like most of us are all friends, right? Like, so it's like it's not like there's like a level of hiding strats, but there's not like, yo, what gear are you wearing here? Like, what do you think is best? Like, you have those conversations with people to kind of optimize what your characters are. And I think missing out on that like part of the tournament would be a shame.
Lock down the dungeons to not be able to be ran or something.
Well, you could
a couple days of practice is good.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of the practice happening mostly on the live servers, but I don't know, a couple days of it, or you could like cap the scrolls to like if the great push is like this one, you know, where it's going up to like 27s, 28s, you could cap the scrolls during practice to like 24, 23 or something, and that way you can get into dungeons, you can try out builds and stuff, but you can't actually like do the tournament in advance and have practice be just repeating, you know, the more times you do it.
It's not a bad idea.
That during the live bit.
It's
not a bad idea.
Is they give you access to the realm like 3 days in advance only. They just disappear the Keystone vendor, but they have like set out target dummies in the main area so that every class can test their damage profile, because they never really had that as an equal way to test your stuff before. They've had like groups of target dummies, like 1 or 4, but they've never had like an even spread of target dummies. And I think that would be a really good way to like compare some stuff in advance and then also limit people's practice time.
They really love arbitrary target dummies. If the Covenant Halls,
oh my god, the Covenant Halls are so
dude.
the flying
scream
AoE
on my
dummies.
rogue who's Necrolord, man. Like all I have access to is 2 target. There's no single target. There's no 3.
Wait,
there's
really?
no 4. There's no 5. Yes, Necrolord
only
has
but it
2
hits
target.
You back. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a tanking one.
The tank one, yeah.
I've only been
Necrolord class hall is so scuffed, man. It is. Kyrian is very good. The other class halls are different levels of scuffed, but Necrolord is extremely scuffed.
I've only been in Kyrian and Night Fae, and both of those have like pretty good training dummy selections. I don't know what the rest of them are like.
Dude, Vengir has like a flying swarm of imps that's training dummies.
Yep. They I mean they added 2 sets of 5 outside on the tournament realm right now, but it's just like you have 5 and then like that's what you have now. And then you can I guess copy account data and get a turnip over there. But or I guess that doesn't actually work on PTR, not on Tournament Realm. I didn't have Tournament.
Wait, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I had them on PTR, but not Tournament Realm.
Good.
That's good because I know they're explicitly not adding those to TR. Okay. Let's see. So I think that there's a lot of nice stuff to think about there. All in all, I'm pretty excited to see how this weekend plays out. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see, and I love that there's been this Twitter back and forth between
the Twitter drama
between now and JPC, and I mean it's actually so great to see. The only downside is like there's a couple people in the replies that are just being extremely weird.
Oh my god,
dude, the fans are always
commenters
cringe, man.
Cringe.
They're always cringe.
Yeah,
dude, the one that cracked me up the most was today. Like Genji's go live tweet was literally just like putting JPC on blast. It was just like, I'm live. By the way, shut up, JPC. I was like, dude, this is too funny, man.
So that'll be good to see. I think that there's a lot riding. There's some very engaged fans on both sides that are really rooting for their team, which is a really cool thing to
Passionate
see.
fan.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how that all resolves. I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful for this great push thing though. You guys were streaming your whole practice as well, right?
Yeah, at least Greg. I didn't end
Okay.
up streaming the second day just because I was like focused.
Right.
Like I'm like old now. Like I pull up stream and I'm just like I can't force myself to like not pay attention to it. Like my brain, I don't know. I'm just like have
Yes.
lost focus over the years, and it's hard
Same.
for me to do that. So I just didn't stream because I wasn't going to be focused. And now that whole dungeon is just like I'm in misery playing mage in Necrotic Wake, so I didn't want any distractions at all because I'm already trying to focus on not tilting like the whole day because my class doesn't function in that dungeon. So it was, but Greg streamed, so yeah, I think the streaming of it made it a lot cooler too. There was some teams that didn't stream. Like I don't think Andy Brew's team streamed at all, but I think every other team
Streamed at least some,
did broadcast like pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think it's nice. I mean, we saw some streaming of MDI practice as well towards the end of the regular season, but even then it was pretty limited. And I always remember there's pretty serious incentives to not stream that. I don't know. How did you feel? One thing I've always felt like when doing MDI practice was that it's kind of, you don't really get this great feedback of like whether stuff is actually, working as well, whether you're having like a good set of time or not in the same way. Like 4 good practice hours versus 4 practice hours that aren't good. Like sometimes that you do some really important work, but like you don't really feel like you accomplished anything. Because it's not like you're like testing yourself against the timer, right? Like you're just like resetting a pull over and over again. You keep trying it, you eventually get it down. And like obviously that feels good. But I feel like one of the pros of this is that like you actually are just like trying to beat the timer, right? It's not like, okay, we got an 1830 this time, we got a 1945 last time, but that had that weird thing that won't happen in the real run. You're trying to actually figure out if it's better, right? It's like this binary, did you time the key or not line. So how did you, I don't know, did that feel like something that you noticed while you were doing these qualifiers or even practice?
Definitely, actually. I don't think a single one of our spires, I think if it had been MDI, every spires run we completed, including like the 25 we put up as our best time, we would have started over. We would have never finished those dungeons because we scuffed some portion of it at early in the dungeon in every run. Like there wasn't like it's not like we had a clean spires that ever happened. Yeah. Like that didn't exist. But it was like, yo, we can still time. Let's keep going. You know what I mean? Because you're fighting the timer rather than fighting for the best time.
Is bad as well, right? Like that.
Yes,
unlike an MDI,
really hurts you.
In MDI time trials, usually like sometimes you have limited attempts, but otherwise you're like, if you, especially back when you didn't, you were just like, okay, zone out and reset. Go again.
Yeah. So that, I think for the mental, that was pretty good. Because it's pretty draining, especially when the first pull of a dungeon is like one of the harder parts of the dungeon. Which I guess not to be said for either of these dungeons, really. Like most of the hard stuff comes towards the end, so it was a little bit different for these 2 dungeons in particular. But had it been like something like halls, where like the first pull is like maybe the hardest part of the dungeon, that like is draining, man. When you were just resetting one pull over and over and over and over again, and like half the time, like there's at least 1 or 2 people that are not fully in it because their brain's just an autopilot, and like silly mistakes get made because of that. So I think the deplete format was good. I think there could be some changes we kind of talked about before the show that would be sick. But depleting and not being able to just spam one key over and over and over and over again was definitely healthy, I think, for the tournament.
Yes. Good.
I actually saw the Growl Dorky group even push up a second Spires key so they could fucking practice the first pull on something that was like not a terrible level. That they were doing it on like an 18 or some shit on a second Spires run. So they were just practicing their first pull.
Yeah, so that's how the proving grounds worked for this one. The actual tournament, the key there, it will be no depletes, right? Like once you time the 27, you can just try the 28 over and over and over again. Which I think
it's good.
We might see that be something that happens during the tournament, but the thing that the tournament has is time pressure, like really harsh time pressure that didn't exist during the qualifiers, right? The qualifiers, you had 2 full days for 2 dungeons, and then you're gonna have way more dungeons and way less time to push up in the actual thing. So I think that will add some of the weight back to the runs, but I do think we will see some like first pull spam attempts. Some teams will spend some time doing that in at least some dungeons. I bet, like Halls of Atonement. I think it's pretty likely that will be a strategy that's rewarded. So Tattles and I have some ideas for slight tweaks of those deplete overrules. We'll see though. I want to see how this weekend goes first before suggesting too much overall.
Dad, I had a question for you since you did both the Great Push, Time Trials, and MDI in the past. How do you think mistakes affected the success rate of the key? Like when you got into the 26, 27 range, someone dies on a random pull, and MDI, that would have been like a 4-minute time loss, because now nobody has CDs for the next time you try the pull, and you can't even do the same pull again. How did that affect like the Great Push stuff?
Well, I guess it's like different, right? Like, because in MDI, it's your time scuffed, right? Like it's not. It doesn't come down to if you time the key, so it's definitely harsher in the MDI because even just a death, it could be like that's 20 more seconds on your timer because now you have to B-res. You lost 5 seconds because of the timer. That person's not buffed anymore. They got to stop to grab a food buff at some point or something like that. Their damage is going to be lower if they don't rebuff themselves, and those like seconds matter. Whereas I think in both of these dungeons in particular, I think 27 Spires was possible, and we saw 29 Necrotic Wake was possible. So the qualifying dungeon number ended up being you just had to be clean and get through the dungeon. Like you weren't limited by DPS. Like it wasn't like we don't have enough damage to time this key. You know what I mean? It didn't get to that level. So I think mistakes were much easier depending on where the mistakes were. Like there's some places in Necrotic Wake if somebody died, like to be shown in R27 where like the key's just over. Like
I think those were closest to the MDI situations, right? Where you lose, like the orb, like you said, and you just can't do the pull anymore.
Yeah, it's just done. Or in Spires, some deaths on the second or third boss are just like, because those are the pain points of the dungeon. Like wherever the biggest pain points are, like deaths in those probably scuff the key, whereas deaths like in other places you can probably recover from. Like deaths on the first pull of Spires, that's fine. Deaths on like a random pull throughout it, or deaths towards the end of Spires after the third boss are fine and recoverable. It's mostly on the stuff where it's like we have to play this part of the dungeon perfectly. If you die there, you're kind of scuffed. Whereas MDI is like you have to play the whole dungeon perfectly for a time trial. Yeah, and if you have any deaths everywhere, it's just like, all right, it's over. Sorry.
I mean,
you didn't qualify.
We saw people timing fucking 27 Necrotic Wake with like a full team wipe and shit. I don't think any team had like a perfect run. Like even in their best dungeons, there are very few perfect runs across the whole weekend. Most of them had at least one-off deaths, but even more so, like in Necrotic Wake, we saw some absolutely massive time losses and teams still be able to time a key. There was like a 20. Was it the Chinese team that had the 27 Necrotic Wake with like a full wipe or some shit? Just like, okay.
I think that's a little bit unique to Necrotic Wake in the way that dungeon functions. But there's definitely mistakes that could be made in like one key lower while you're pushing up your key. And even in the 26s and 28s, you could probably make some mistakes here and there and still time. Like we had teams that had a lot of time on the timer in both of those dungeons. And like I said, like I don't think those were the cap. Like I think 27 Spires would have been extremely, extremely difficult just from like the throughput required on the second and third boss. But I don't think that's out of the question. So that means that mistakes are recoverable in the key level lower is kind of what I'm getting at.
One thing that Growl, former guest of the show from a couple weeks ago, tweeted that I thought was a pretty cool take on it as well was that it was proven that cutting edge keys can be pushed on Tyran. Multiple groups pushed from +15 to world first and timed it within 12 hours, talking about Spires here. Spires getting... The records on Spires are now all from Tournament Realm on Tyrannical, right? Which I think was a pretty cool thing to note from this. A good follow-up was that it does kind of suggest that some of the difficulty of Tyrannical Week as well is there's just a couple landmine keys that your key can turn into, right? Like your key turns into Sanguine or Theater or whatever, and like it's it gets landmined down a couple levels. Yeah. So that wasn't something that was on the Tournament Realm, but I do think it was definitely an interesting look at maybe Tyrannical is not as much of a kiss of death affix as we thought. One problem with like it on the live servers at least is that like many of the other affixes that go next to Tyrannical suck. There's only a couple of good Tyrannical weeks, and they're all in the past now. But there's I don't know. I mean, I thought it was a cool takeaway. How did you feel, Dad, doing the Tyrannical key? Was that something that you you felt?
As a fire mage, Tyrannical owns because you kill all the trash and then your team kills the bosses. Like you're just there to all the big trash pulls. Like I am just soloing and everybody else worries about the rest of the dungeon. So for me in particular, Spires was fun, but I don't know. I think the biggest issue with Tyrannical to me is just it's less fun than Fortified. Like I think like most people that are actively playing Mythic Plus are playing it as like something that's different from Raid because they don't want to fight 5-minute bosses. Like that's like kind of like what's cool about dungeons to me is I like when bosses are only 2 minutes long and then I get to do trash for the rest of the dungeon more so than it being too difficult. And then obviously, like you said, the landmine keys get in the way, but Spires was fun. It was fun in that vacuum. I think I don't think that I'm going to be pushing on any Tyrannical weeks anytime soon, but in this format, it was fine. I think.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee that nobody will be
pushing Tyrant.
Yeah, hang
Yeah.
on. Next Tyrannical week is Tyrannical bolstering storming Prideful. So I don't know about that one.
That's cursed. That should.
And it's also too
bolstering?
like with the way that you play Mythic Plus right now, like Venthyr Holy Paladin just like doesn't actually heal.
Yeah.
And
True.
tyrannical bosses involve healing. Like if you watch the Spires runs on the third boss, where like the most healing intensive part of that dungeon is, in between the first and second damage amp phase, your Moonkin is like full-time healing. Like he's not doing any damage. He's just healing whoever has the debuff because your healer can't do it. So like Tyrannical is not fun because of that also. Like you just have to figure out how to heal the boss with basically 4 DPS in your group. So
Moonkin healing. This
it
is
is-
the worst
this
timeline.
season
It's
is
something,
so
man.
insane, man.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that the I think the Holy Paladin definitely it does bring its
Shit
own.
out of you.
It brings. There are a lot of other problems that are like kind of tangentially related that Holy Paladin either exacerbates or, it makes a weak point into an actual problem.
Yeah. It's like Holy Paladin's like the best class in the game, but it's also the absolute worst class in the game.
Yeah.
It's just so polarizing.
They're so
I
fun to
hate it,
play
man.
with.
Like
hate playing
I need to like when I do my pug keys, like when I'm doing like just vault keys, if there's a Holy Paladin in the group, I am out. I am leaving. I am not playing with random pug Venthyr Holy Paladins. It is not happening.
They're never Venthyr in
and
the
it's not
pugs,
even like
right?
that. They're always Venthyr now,
They
dude.
are?
Like
Oh,
they're
no.
always, man. Like
It's been a couple months. It's trickled down. Now everyone's
yeah,
It's trickled
everybody
down?
is
Oh,
become
no.
Venthyr now because they've seen the tie-in players playing it. So they just like, and it's not even like the player's fault, right? Like it's not like this dude's bad at playing Venthyr Paladin. It's just the class doesn't heal. Like it just doesn't do anything. I remember, dude, the funniest part about this weekend was we were on the first boss of Spires, and that boss can just one-shot your tank. Like the overhead slash can literally just 100 to 0 your tank with spikes and brand up. Like you're just dead sometimes on 25 and 26. So Psycho asks Hunte, "Can you please top me before the overhead slash?" And he's just like, "I'm sorry, my class can't do that. I can't, like, our healer just telling our tank, I can't heal you. It takes me 3 globals to heal you for 8,000. You have 100,000 HP. I can't, I'm sorry. I can't, my class is incapable."
That's
So yeah,
that's so
something needs
cursed.
to be done to that class, man. It is so doomed.
All right, let's move on to our tip of the week segment, and then we've got some discussion of 9.1 stuff as well. My tip of the week is actually somewhat related to what we were talking about when somebody dies, but also just good to have in general. Get a weak aura to remind you to do stuff like Battle Shout, Arcane Intellect, anything like that. Get one that will show up in combat, and you can also get some that are like clickable, and it'll click and cast it as well. I have one of those. And when you have this will make it so that when you B-res somebody during a raid fight, or even in M+, you know that they don't have Battle Shout or whatever, and you click it. You can, I think, get it tweaked further even so that like the Battle Shout one won't yell at you if it's a mage, or somebody that's, doesn't use AP, but really just getting in the habit of just having one of those and then always hitting your buff when somebody comes up as soon as you're not in some kind of damage cooldown. It was Zyro that was mentioning this as something that was really good when I was talking to him a couple days ago, but it's actually a really, really good point, and this is a huge anything that will make it so your guild comms when somebody dies aren't like, "Hey, rebuff me, please," is a good thing too.
Here's what you're actually supposed to do. Do not waste the global on them. They have died. They need to think about what they've done, and thus they should be punished. Why should you be punished by casting that on GCD ability to be able to rebuff them whenever you could just not, and they have to think about the death, and they have to be further punished for dying.
That's the other take on it, sure.
I'm so surprised you said that as the Boomkin player who may die and needing the arcane intellect from the mage.
I don't die. I play Moonkin. I have infinite.
Sure.
I don't die. I don't die. I play Moonkin.
Trell, what is your tip of the week?
Mine's kind of similar. It's just like an overarching tip for multiple classes. So if you're in a class that has an immunity, such as Ice Block, Aspect of the Turtle, you want to have some kind of cancel aura so you can take it off early so you can keep doing the damage. But a lot of players, when they first do this, they put that cancel aura in the same keybind as their immunity. And I think that's a bad thing, because if you hit it twice, you're going to instantly unimmune yourself and die to whatever you were trying to avoid. And everyone's going to go through this eventually if they do that. So you want to put the cancel aura on a different ability. So I always actually macro mine into my kick. And you just put like show tooltip, cast kick, and then / cancel aura your immunity after that. So that if you press the keybind once, it just cancels it. And it doesn't actually use your kick, if that makes sense. Because it tries to kick while you're still immune.
Interesting. So you put the kick first in the list? And then the
yes,
cancel aura
kick
below?
first, then cancel aura, I believe, yeah.
Interesting.
I always that's actually really useful. I have two
Yeah.
separate binds. I have one that has like block plus cancel aura in it, and one that's block without cancel aura. But a lot of people don't like. I have like a ton of binds. A lot of people don't have like the binds to spare. So I think that's a really good idea, adding it to the kick.
I do
Yeah, 'cause
two binds
kick's universal,
as well.
right? Except for H-Pal, I think.
All the healers
Yeah,
except for Shaman, yeah. I bind like Ice Block to one button and then cancel or Ice Block to another bind entirely. And that cancel or Ice Block also has like cancel bop, cancel, whatever else that immunities. But again, that's a 2-bind solution, and Trell has effectively a 1-bind solution, so that's potentially going to be a lot better. I know a lot of people are hurting for keybind space.
I have a question. Don't most immunities now have like a 1 to 2 second leeway before you can even cancel it if you just leave it as the same bind? Like you don't even need a cancel aura in the
You
the
can't
macro
insta
anymore.
cancel.
Oh, really?
So like for example, like for fire mages in particular, like this is a lot of stuff I picked up trying to get much better at the class lately. Like sometimes I want an off global way to proc my disciplinary command, and Ice Block is that. So I'll use Ice Block instead of Frost Nova. And if you don't have Cancel Aura if you don't have Cancel Aura also in the keybind, you'll lose a global. Like it takes a global before you can cancel it. So that's why I have one that's like a separate. I want to block and make sure I don't insta cancel it, and then I have one that's like I need to insta cancel this block because I'm using it for damage.
But the alternative is to just have if you're okay with losing a global, you can just leave it as the normal like native in-game like Ice Block, right?
Yeah,
and it'll cancel.
But otherwise, I would just Frost Nova. This is like some real degenerate magician shit.
Yeah,
Let's just say
min-max.
I don't even think about what Dad's doing over here, but
most mages probably do not need to worry about the offensive Ice Block.
Please don't do that.
Yeah,
please don't do that.
99% of mages I've played with.
You need Ice Block.
That is not a technology they should have.
Caught. You don't
exactly
caught,
exactly. You might as well just block for damage.
If you're in my run, don't do that. you can do whatever the fuck you want. Don't tell that to normal people, Dad. Stop telling them to do that shit.
Well, no, it's like it's
no
pretty useful too for like the first pull of miss, for example, when you get targeted by the whatever the stun thing, whatever it's called. You do?
Oh yeah.
During the channel, you just insta cancel block. You block, you instant cancel, and now you're back to doing stuff. Like there's definitely use for it. Other than like my example.
Like if you get stepped on during the second fight of Spires and you want to just clear your dot real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
There's definitely some legitimate use there, but the disciplinary command use I will dispute as that's an expert maneuver. Do not try that one at home.
It's an unethical maneuver, man.
I haven't been punished for it yet.
All right,
yet is the key word, but
what is your actual, sanctioned tip of the week?
Maybe a little complicated, but have you guys talked about the third boss of Spires before and how charge stomping works?
We've alluded
to
it,
how you trigger it, but not the actual energy of the fight.
Tell us about how to do it, yeah.
Okay, so you can manipulate when you phase on the third boss of Spires, on Opharon, or however you pronounce his name, based on like each ability that he uses costs a certain amount of energy. When he reaches 0 energy, he phases and you get the damage amp. So by stepping under the boss into his hitbox as the tank, you trigger a charge stomp, which uses energy and thus pushes his phase. So you can manipulate it to whatever your cooldowns are, but typically you want to phase the first time after a minute. Usually have a class that has like some sort of minute cooldown on pull, and then they want to use it during the phase. So to do that, you trigger 2 charge stomps. You always want to trigger 2 during the first phase, and that'll give you a clean 1 minute push. Your cooldowns will come back up. You go there. And then if it's a tyrannical or just a key that's higher than you're used to, or your damage is a little bit low and you're going to get a second phase, the actual fastest way to trigger the second damage amp phase is to not trigger any charge stomps, because he needs a certain amount of energy to cast his Empyrean
Blast, right? Oh,
whatever
Imperial Ordnance. Okay.
Yeah, the big Imperial Ordnance costs 30. So in order to cast 3 of those, which is what you can do, normally you get 2, but you can force him to cast 3 if you don't charge stomp at all, and then he'll push faster into his second damage amp phase. So depending on what cooldowns you have coming up, you can force that by just like not charge stomping, which seems counterintuitive. But if you charge stomp once, he won't have enough energy when he gets to the 3rd ordnance cast, so he'll skip it and he won't cast it, and then you have to wait longer for him to push in the face. That was like some weird shit we uncovered during our Spires runs to end up trying to push the boss optimal times. We ended up not using it. It was funny. It's actually better for our comp in particular to push slower into the second damage amp, because you get, dude, it's all about
a
mage
dark
cooldowns,
glare?
man.
Okay.
No. You get an extra combust in between. So like you combust on pull, you combust in damage amp, you combust again, and then you push, and you get a 4th combust when you push him if you do another 2 charge stomps. So
4 combust boss. Yikes.
Yeah. Crazy.
I mean, I think that'll be applicable. So, like, if you're a mage group, that's something you do. But if you're just trying to get it to push as fast as possible in a key where, like, it'll die during the next damage amp regardless, then you do 0 stomps in the second phase. And 2 stomps always if you want that 1 minute push at the start. Very cool.
I love bosses like that you can manipulate the abilities he does. I think they're really cool. And I'm sure they happen on accident. Like, it's not, there's no way Blizzard intended this boss to function this way, but it's cool when you figure it out and you're able to make the boss do what you want.
I love that as well. All right, Tuttles, you doing okay over there with your...
We're fine. Everything's fine. I'm sitting here looking at this Wowhead post. It has 51 comments in 21 minutes.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, let's fire up your clip of the week from Ellesmere Gaming, and then we'll get over there. So is this... what's happening here? Do I need sound?
Yes, you need sound. This clip is so funny with sound.
I'll play it.
Sack JP. Oh, my bubble's on a 1 second cooldown. Oh my god, no. Oh, I was barely up.
Battle resin?
Yeah,
okay, we're fine.
Okay, now I'm bubbling.
That's on me. You have Astral Shift in 2. Use it. Use it.
Oh, wings proc. Carry me to victory.
I'm out of mana. Okay. Alright, now you carry us, Ali.
Alright, my turn.
Oh my god. No.
What the fuck are you doing?
Ellie!
Are you fucking kidding me?
Are you?
I just busted my ass on that product.
Yeah, that's that holy power shit right there.
My goddamn
they believe they can come in, guns blazing,
son of a
fucking
bitch.
I-beam first global on a trash pack and not die.
That is incredible.
I don't know how to play a class without mirror image anymore, man. Like, I don't understand how I'm supposed to handle threat on not mage anymore in this game. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, rogue to hunter to mage. Like, I've just never had to deal with threat, man.
Yeah, threat is great. Threat is such a great mechanic to worry about all the time as a tank player, especially this expansion.
Okay, he deserved to die there. He fucking literally like pre-Ashens into Hammer's first global. Of course he's gonna get melee by the boss.
Yeah, true.
It's man, I don't know, because I'm also playing Warrior right now too, and Warrior, unironically, because Warrior is abusing First Strike to do as much damage as they can in Mythic Plus, actually waits for 3 Sunders, like unironically, because you have to fit everything in your First Strike window, and if you enter the pack at the same time as your tank, you are now the tank. Like, there is no world where the tank has threat. It's not his fault. There's just, he can't do anything. So you actually have to wait for the tank to cast a few globals. You're just chilling, and then you go in, you proc your First Strike, and you do your damage.
Okay, with most of the people too watched, and they'll probably end up seeing a lot of Guardian Druids across this weekend. I suspect that this will increase the influx of Guardian Druids, but not increase the IQ of the melee players enough to realize that Guardian Druid has no fucking snap threat if they don't have end card up, and then the Warrior player is gonna hit the First Strike and then just be tanking the pack the whole time.
Maybe that's my tip of the week. If you play melee, you need a giant Incarn weak aura in the middle of your screen, and if your tank does not have Incarn, you are not doing damage yet. Like, you need to chill.
In organized groups, the only way to get around this is having someone literally drop trees the instant the pack is pulled, so you can go in and do your first strike, or someone uses a cardboard assassin until that gets fixed in 9.1.
First global trees is so fucking cursed though. Like no tank really.
Yeah,
it's not,
it
it's not
sucks.
bad. It's like not great.
It's just it solves strat problems, but it means that the trees aren't solving any tank survivability issues, right? In the same way.
Yeah, generally trees is best for the tank when the tanks are used both charges of shield block, for example, and then they have some time to regenerate charges or stuff equivalent to that in other classes.
All right, let's move on to our main topic, part 2-ish. Different main topic, our other main topic, which is 9.1 discussion stuff, where we have the Season 2 Domination affix in Mythic Plus. Is it going to be called Domination? There's no way it'll say Domination on the keystone, right? It's got to be just unnamed, right? It's
are you into that kind of thing?
So here's what it is. Placeholder Shadowland Season 2 affix, so no idea exactly what that will be. But we do know it'll have
BDSM.
some kind of anima power angle to it. We don't know anything about like how many anima powers you get, how many different ones there are, how you get them, what the jailer's forces are, or anything like that. But there have been 2 data mined anima powers that are related to Mythic Plus affixes that have showed up here. So one lets you apply necrotic to the enemies when you hit them, and the other lets you create volcanoes beneath enemies when you, like a proc to make a volcano.
And it can hit all people. The volcanoes can hit all people.
It just says all enemies, right? But I guess it could, if it could hit your friends as well, that would be pretty toxic.
That sounds like a nightmare for tank players. Like, I think if an enemy is above you in the air, it's going to count as hitting you from behind, I swear.
Maybe. I mean, it could be free interrupts on all the casters and stuff as well.
That's what I'm thinking. But
yeah,
at the
it could
same
be
time,
also really good.
Dude, you think about Halls of Atonement and those obliterators that already get fucking stuck in the roof, and you're like, you're gonna knock them up, and they're just gonna get stuck up there. You're like, can you fucking come down?
Dude,
come back down.
You're the Ellie Shaman with your earthquake on the ground, and people keep lobbing them up out of your earthquake. You're like, dude, please.
Good. That's what they need.
I was pretty excited when I first read that there was going to be anima powers related to the affixes, but this doesn't really do anything for me. These both seem, I don't know.
I'm excited. I actually think that they can be done well, and also notably, I suspect that this can also maybe allow them to turn the knobs a little bit on week-to-week balancing in some form. I'm not saying that they will. I'm just saying that they could. They could make shit like necrotic that is only present on tyrannical weeks do, I don't know, infinite damage or raging.
Oh, so I mean, yeah, if these show up only on their weeks where those affixes are active.
Oh yeah, I suspect that's how it's gonna be. Well, at least that's how I interpreted it, but maybe I'm just making that up.
Well, I think that would make sense if these actually did something related to the affix, but none of these actually interact with the affix that's happening to you, right? Like, here's what I was when I read the first paragraph here, I was hoping that there would be an affix that like turned necrotic back into magic damage on you, or that like made necrotic do extra damage but not have the healing absorb component, or things that like, made quaking not interrupt you but damage you if you weren't casting. Like those do some kind of weird like subversion of the different affixes based on what was going on this week. These don't actually do that though. These are just like random procs that are themed around the affixes.
I suspect that some of them will actually end up doing that. Hopefully, like there will be one where the quaking will interrupt mobs and like the sanguine will heal you. That is hopeful. Maybe they don't end up doing that, but if they do, then I would think it's really cool. If they don't, I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
My take on this is probably very hot.
All right.
One, I am the leader of the remove seasonal affixes community. I hate them. I think they should spend much more time just figuring out how to actually balance the weeklies before the seasonals do that. I know I'm like probably alone in that category, but two, anytime we've said in the past, if they do this well, they've never done this well. They've never we said it about the target cap. We said it about, I don't know, the GCD issue in BFA. Like, it's always been like, if they tune this well, like it'll be good. And they've never done that, right? Like they've just never done that before. So I'm very nervous. I also like. I think people are worried about this being too boring, but from my perspective, the more boring and less impactful it is, the better it is, because
You've
it
been
means
hanging out with Hunte too much.
like they're not going to, because it's just like a nightmare, I think, for them to like balance whatever this is with weeklies, especially if it's different each week, to make it so like every week seems like fun to play, as opposed to just waiting for the 1 week that's busted because of the way it interacts with the other affixes, and then you just play that week and push the highest keys and then just don't care about the other weeks. So I'm hoping it's pretty unimpactful, and most of the season is just kind of playing the dungeons. You get a little bit of a boost, and you're not as I guess restricted, because like Prideful's been pretty restrictive. I had a lot of hype about Prideful. I thought Prideful was going to be sick, but I don't think they did enough work tuning it. Like I think Prideful is too difficult. Like I think Prideful has become the focus of dungeons. I think if Prideful did like 10% of the damage it does, and you encourage people to try to pull it with packs, but deal with like the X mechanic and like not stunning your friends and killing your friends that way, instead of just like, we have to commit all these cooldowns to killing a pride or we're dead, or we have to figure out how to invis skip a pride, or the keys over. I think going the route of, and I know a lot of people complained that reaping seemed too easy. Like that was a big complaint that people had, but I felt that reaping was like perfect. It was mechanically, when you had a fat guy, there was area denial with the fat ghost, and you had a dispel mechanic and some kicks added to your pull, and that was basically the difficulty of the affix. I thought that was like the perfect level of difficulty for a seasonal, and I think I'll always feel that way. And I hope they go that route with this. If they do, I'll be really excited. If they don't and it's too impactful, I'll probably talk shit on it for the entire season. That's it.
If they don't and it's too impactful, I'm really concerned that this could be beguiling again, where you only have like 2 Enchanted Emissary weeks that you can only play, because those are the Enchanted Emissary and Fortified week. And you're like, oh my fucking god.
And then Awaken 2 was like pretty unimpactful. Awaken was just like, you did the guys and that was it. You used the skip how you did. You could pull them with the last boss.
I think Awaken was,
and that was really good. Like Awaken objectively, I think was the best affix. I like Reaping the best, but I think objectively Awaken has been the best so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in the seasonal affix, because I think that they could do more stuff like Awaken and Reaping. But I agree that like when the dungeon is about the affix, that sucks, because that's it's the same thing the whole season, right? Like things no longer are different each week. Every single week, every single dungeon is the Prideful show. I agree. And I think that this affix, I mean, it has good, like I think that seasonal affix is changing how dungeons feel without making it all about them, is where they should try and land. And yeah, I mean, I think you're definitely right that like looking at the 5 seasonal affixes we've seen so far, at least 2.5 of them have had serious, problems from the conceptualization to the tuning phase. Somewhere in there, stuff has gone pretty awry. So I'm definitely with you on being anxious about how this one turns out, when there are so many potential problem points that we can identify ahead of time, like the potential problem point of if anima powers are RNG and you're like, there's 10 from the pool and you're seeing 3 of them each dungeon, and like 1 of them is good, and you're just like resetting your 25 is timed or not timed based on whether you find the OP anima power or not. That is,
oh my god,
extreme,
please don't say that.
Extreme, fear that like it's good thing about your Torghast runs, right? Sometimes you have these Torghast runs where just like the first anima power you open is like, is OP beyond belief, and you're just like, okay, we're rolling through this thing, and then the other ones where it's like their first one is like your Marats explode. You're like, okay.
Yeah. Also, I'm concerned because it is currently May 26th.
Dude, where is it? Where is the affix?
Yeah, where the fuck is it? Yeah, exactly. The patch is like they're testing raid bosses. The patch probably comes out either July or August, if I had to guess. Where the fuck is this affix?
July or August? I think the patch is sooner than that. They're doing like all the raid testing.
That's even scarier
tomorrow, right? Like this is all the bosses basically are getting.
They're almost done with raid testing. Seems like
There's only a couple that we won't have seen on Mythic. In fact, I think we'll have seen all of them on Mythic. No, there's like one or two that we won't have besides Sylv. No, we'll have seen all of them. I don't know. Either way, we'll have seen almost all of them. So, I mean, yeah, this is definitely an affix that I feel like should be pretty testing intensive. So hopefully they let us test it for some amount of time and then have enough time to actually like iterate on it. And it's not just going to be one of those things where it's tested and they get the feedback and then they send it out the same version because they don't have time to implement any changes.
Well, to be fair, at the beginning of the season, they were putting a lot of work into both balancing affixes, dungeons, and Prideful itself. Like, and then they just all of a sudden out of nowhere stopped, and we were just like, "You were not done. Like, what what is going on here? This is not complete yet. Like, you were doing really great. Like, everybody was so hyped. Like, they were paying attention to dungeons, they were paying attention to Mythic Plus, affixes, and all that. And then it just kind of like ended. So like maybe they do that again. Maybe they've been waiting to release the next seasonal instead of putting in a lot of work and then having to redo it because of new interactions. Because like I think the best example of how a seasonal can have a big impact on certain affixes and make those like unplayable weeks is Prideful and Grievous. Like Grievous went from being like a week you usually like you could push on Grievous. Like some bosses were harder, but you could usually push world first keys on Grievous to now because of Prideful, like you are not doing that because Pridefuls on Grievous are just at the highest level are just impossible to heal. So that's where my nervousness a lot of the time comes from is unforeseen interactions with the seasonals and already existing weekly affixes that just like go untouched for a whole season.
Well, don't worry, Dad. They come back randomly to snap down and ruin your fun, removing the spiders from Sanguine Depths lanterns whenever they do see fit.
Yeah,
but they
exactly. Immediately, 24 hours gone.
That wasn't something that we were like using it for months, and then they eventually decided to take it away.
Oh,
like,
that was a clap down.
Yeah. Do you remember pre-spawning the boss in Freehold? Where you'd send your rogue ahead to like kill.
We did that for a whole season.
Yeah, that was there for a whole season.
Edel and I stealthed through and killed the turtle on Freehold Mythic 0 for months together. Never fixed. And then, well, not fixed till next season, but
yeah.
This, I don't know. I wish they were a little bit more consistent with that kind of stuff, right? Like I wish they would either let Mythic Plus be the Wild West or just remove everything. And they seem to be very inconsistent. I think the whole cardboard assassin thing is just like absurd, man. Like that's especially on the tournament realm. Like you have access to cardboard assassin, but not current expansion engineering belts. Like, how does that happen, man? Like what is there's just like no consistency with what they think is okay and what they don't think is okay. And if there was more consistency, I think people would be a lot happier with the state of how they bring the hammer down on stuff.
Yeah,
most of the time it is like the Wild West though, and they kind of just like let it ride for a full season, and then they hit all of it at once. But for some reason, those spiders were not it. And they're just.
I think
they're usually pretty quick, man. They took that, dude. I will never forgive them for removing the banana pot toy from season 1, man. The 10-minute cooldown meld that Horde had access to from a toy where you just jumped in a pot of bananas and hid from the mobs. They removed that within like 2 weeks, man. I will never forget. That was my favorite part of Mythic Plus ever. I will never forgive them for that.
I think that they have this mentality of like when they discover something, it's like, okay, how long has this been being used for? And if it's only been a couple days that it's been out, they'll like get it instantly. Or else with Cardboard Assassin, okay, people have been using this for a while, and like now it's kind of coming on our radar. I guess we do it next patch, right? And we don't mess with something that has been out there for several months now. I don't know. I agree it would be nice if they just always, like, when they identified action that needed to be taken, they would just take it the next time they could implement it, but...
well, it's like a 50-50. It's like, they'll either decide it's bad or good, and then if they decide it's bad, they'll attempt to fix it, so then there's another chance that it doesn't get fixed, but they attempted to fix it. Like, Invising Prides was attempted to be fixed at some point. The way the Pride behaved changed drastically 1 week, and it was because of Invis pots, but they didn't quite get it because
they just gave up. They were just like, "All right, that's fine. I guess they're Invising Prides, like whatever."
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, I think with stuff like Pride as well, it makes sense at a certain point to just be like, "All right, look, the patch has been out for 6 months now. The overwhelming majority of dungeons that will be played with this affix have already been played, right? There's no need for us to spend time like." Troubleshooting this Pride Invis thing. Let's just leave it and move on to the next affix. I think that makes some sense, but I definitely share your frustrations. Speaking of something that is going to cause frustrations, we have a new Wowhead article just during this show. Actually, it came out.
This is so funny.
About Season 2 Keystone Master. So the Season 2 Keystone Master is going to be based on M+ score rather than on timing all the dungeons at a 15 level. And scores accumulated for your highest key on both Tyrannical and Fortified. The lower level of those two contributes about a third of the score for the run. So I guess is that 33% versus 66% from the other one? Or 33% versus 100%? I guess for the run. I don't know. Either way.
Last time we talked about it, it seemed like it was 100% plus 33%, but I'm not sure what it is now.
Yeah. So in patch 9.1, players must complete a plus 15 on both Tyrannical and Fortified, or make up the score elsewhere for every dungeon to get that 2,000 rating. So yeah, 2,000 rating is the Keystone Master level. 8 dungeons requires an average of 250 score per dungeon, and a plus 15 key is 187 points. So both a Tyrannical and a Fortified is 249 points, and times 8, that's 2,000, give or take, right? You're 8 points shy, so you get there.
If you don't hit it on 0-0 every single key,
yeah. If you have extra time, you get extra points, I guess. Like the Radar IO score. So yeah, if you just barely time every dungeon on a 15 key on both Tyrannical and Fortified, you should just about get it. And then of course you could make up the score on the like in other dungeons or in other affixes. So like if you do plus 16 of Tyrannical and Fortified of most dungeons, and like plus 13 in the other side or whatever, because you hate that dungeon, or Theater of Pain, that will probably get you there as well. But yeah, 2,000 score, including the Fortified runs, is 15s of both. And they haven't said how much. They haven't said how much you need for just to get it all from Fortified. But
there is a sentence here. It says if you don't ever want to play on one affix, Mithy's approximation says that you'll need to complete plus 24s to receive the required score.
Now, the
what, man, what
24?
You could probably get it with if you do like
you get your challenge mode portals at 20, and but you still don't have KSM, dude. What?
No, because you're only playing on Fortified week. So I mean, this is them saying, play on both weeks. Do Mythic Plus on both affixes, which I understand. I guess I'm on the one hand I'm happy about this because I feel like that you should be able to play Mythic Plus every week. On the other hand, I do wish the Tyrannical were more fun. But I don't know. I mean, I think 24. That part of the reason that Tyrannical is not fun is that it feels like there's not an incentive to do it. In addition to like the long boss fights being kind of a slog, particularly at high key levels, I think that there's, anytime there's a week where you're 2 keystone levels below the good week, like that feels bad right now because there's no reward for doing it, right? The only reward is for doing the best week. And an artificial reward is a reward just the same. And I think that this will, mean that you can find keys on Tyrannical, which is not the case. Like trying to find some keys next week is not gonna happen. You're not gonna find groups for any sort of sizable keystone, and I think that that'll change next season because people will want this score.
I think so too. I personally like it. I think it's cool that you can do like a mix of 16s and 17s on both weeks, and then have KSM at some point along the way.
Yeah,
I just think it like doesn't affect us because we're just gonna, you know what I mean? Like KSM is not like an achievement for us, at least the 4 of us. Like we're going to get KSM, but there's players that just like by the end of the season they're hoping they get their KSM. Like they're really still trying towards the end of the season, and this just makes that feat so much more difficult.
Like, I disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree. This season you need to find exactly a 15 theater, exactly a 15 the other side. If you go into Group Finder when you don't have your KSM, there's like one keystone that you need, and you need to go and find and time that key. And a lot of people who don't have KSM but are kind of close, like they probably have like 17 in their best dungeon, right? 16 in their better dungeons. And then there's just that one key that they like have a slightly depleted 15 in, and they've screwed it up twice and never seen another key of it. Or they've done it on 14.
Yeah, maybe,
right?
I don't know.
But
and that resume will get you KSM next season, right? Next season you just push your score, and you get KSM that way. And
that's assuming they do it on both weeks, right? Like they have just barely a 15 done on both Tyrannical and Fortified to like get there, or like
you gotta
below
play on
it.
Tyrannical as well. That's true. So it kind of doubles the play on that side, but it reduces that, like, you're now getting credit for that 17 when you weren't in the past, right? That 17 is taking some of the load off of whichever dungeon is your lowest, whereas it didn't in the past.
I guess we'll see how they do it. I think this is going to be so much worse for people that are in like the just barely get KSM range, but we'll I guess we'll see. Because like are people that are just barely getting KSM, are they actively playing Mythic Plus on like many
guess.
weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Really?
I think that it's a goal that they like. The people who like only get KSM because it's an achievement that they want. I think that they set out to accomplish it and then they go and accomplish it, and like oftentimes it is over more than 1 week, right? Like these kind of people aren't just doing 8 15s in a week. Like that's if you're somebody who can do 8 15s in a week, I think that's a different set of people. I think that this is like an incremental goal that people get to over time in a lot of cases. And in particular, I think that the feeling of pushing score and getting that incremental progress towards something is actually a really good one. And pushing your Raider IO score up is a really good feeling, and it's not something that applied to the kind of lower levels. And it will now. It will now that you're building up towards Keystone Explorer and then Keystone Conqueror and then Keystone Master.
Okay,
and I think
I see that.
that kind of awareness you have of like, okay, is a 22D other side score for me? Is a 23 Sanguine Depth score for me? Like people are gonna have that awareness, even below the level where you have an IO score that lets you get invited to anything. So I think that there's upside here. Obviously, it'll be different. I think it will require more play, probably like more dungeons done. But I think that this creates a better progression system.
So something that I do think that's really interesting, though, is you can see in the screenshot from Sean in the post, it talks about like the Mist of Tyranid Scythe rating. Interestingly enough, it says the best tyrannical and the best fortified, like on the tooltip. And so that means that they're like looking to natively put that shit in the game, which I would say is very positive, that they are actively trying to give players a lot of information as to like whether or not this player that they're going to be invited to their group is qualified for their group or not.
Is this somebody I think this is somebody mousing over their own score, not somebody.
Yes.
This is not like a group finder mouse over.
But, okay, you haven't used group finder on the PTR yet? Group finder on the PTR looks similar to that if you're like in group, yeah.
Because this is the Great Vault icon right behind the mists. So this is.
So they've probably refined this a couple of times, because like I looked a couple of weeks ago, it was a little bit different than that, but now it looks like that from at least Sean's screenshot. But that makes sense, because before it would actually show like your best run of that dungeon. But I think that's pretty cool. I do have a question. I don't mean this like in a rhetorical way. So we run and complete, like, don't zone out of let's say like 100 to 300 or 400 keys a season, right? How many keys
More.
like? Okay,
I think more.
How many keys do you actually think that these players are like actively completing?
Like you're talking about somebody who's like on the edge of whether they get KSM or not?
Yeah, because I feel like the quantity of keys that we do as a group is just infinitely higher than the quantity of keys that they
I think
do.
there's two different kind of flavors. I think there's the people who do like a lot of keys in that 2 to 10 range or whatever, right? Like they're just they kind of do very casual Mythic Plus at those levels, and they'll have quite a few of those keys done. And then I think there's another set of people that's like they don't really do M+, but they want to go and get that mount, and so they'll like, they'll find a +10 key and like push that up to 15 or whatever, and kind of be learning the dungeons a little bit and try and do each one once. I think
the third category is some of my skilled guildies that still didn't have KSM until last week because they only do Mist of Tyranid Scythe once a week, and that's it.
Dude, yeah, Thune posting it here has just made me realize this is going to be obnoxious for like World First Raiders. Like you have to get KSM 2 weeks. You have to do 16 total keys to be able to upgrade like a slot to fill a piece of gear that you need for the World First push.
Annoying.
You now have to do
no.
16. Like you have to now do 16 keys in the first 2 weeks of the expansion, or the first 2 weeks of the tier.
824s.
yeah,
God.
Yeah, just push 20. Well, but don't World First Raiders get their? I guess they don't get the 10 key slots in their Great Vault, right? During those weeks, do they?
I think it's likely that you will, I guess, but you need to find specific keys. We're gonna have to have another spreadsheet where everybody posts what goddamn 15 they get, and then we have to organize which groups go to do which 15, so everybody gets their KSM to upgrade one piece of gear to heroic item level to fill a slot that everybody doesn't have. God, this is.
I don't know. I don't think that they should make their decisions though based on like what the World First Raiders and BDG are gonna do.
That's funny. Though.
But yeah, I the first couple weeks actually being able to Valor upgrade your gear, that is going to be a bit of a pain, huh?
Yeah, you can't just do it. Like you can't just do it heroic week. Like now, if you want to, because like the idea would be, okay, you get your KSM heroic week so that for Mythic week you don't have to do Mythic Plus. You can just upgrade a piece, right? You get your Valor to upgrade a piece and you're good. but now there won't be both a Tyrannical and Fortified week before the Mythic Raid launches. Man, that is not going to be fun.
All right, yeah, I'm with you. I kind of forgot that you needed KSM to Valor upgrade your gear, but that's another push to go do it. I don't know. I mean, I think that we've been asking for reasons to do M+.
Please God.
That's
been something
definitely we've been wanting.
Incentive
right?
is good.
Yeah, that will definitely. We'll see how much people actually meant that. My suspicion is that a lot of them did, but a lot of the raiders who don't actually want to do M+ will have pretty loud voices against.
Well, I mean, I think that the people who are already doing Mythic Plus wanted incentives to continue to do Mythic Plus, as opposed to just kind of tapering off towards the end of the patch. Like we've all kind of we were kind of going ham at the beginning, and now it's like the third month in, and we're just all like, I could do keys this week, but it's a really good week to push. Am I really feeling it? Maybe I'll do some. You're just like, eh.
Yeah, maybe my perspective's off just because like I play at a different level than like players at KSM, but I felt like KSM, the way it worked was enough incentive for those players to like try to do that. And then now the dungeon portals at 20 was like another level if you wanted to push past 15. So I didn't know if like reinforcing people to like, man, now we want to incentivize you to play Tyrannical weeks also in order to get your KSM was like the correct move. But again, I haven't played at that level in so long that I don't know what the perspective is.
I think one part of the perspective that like is absent at the lower levels that is actually pretty prevalent at the higher levels is that like people at the really higher levels really hate actually being obligated to go play the game. Like they hate it when Blizzard puts in a system that's like, here, go do this, you know? There's some reason you have to go and play more. And everybody's like, no, we don't want to play. We don't want to play any WoW. Stop making us do that. But I think people at the lower levels are often actually don't mind that. I don't know. I mean, I think we'll just have to wait and see how people like it, but I'm hopeful.
WoWHUD comments are popping off already, dude.
Holy shit, I love it. Yo, can you scroll through the WoWHUD comments really just briefly?
Okay, let's put on our hazmat suits and get in here.
This
What's
thing
worse,
has
WoWhead
been
or YouTube comments?
WoWhead 100%. Okay, this post for context has been live for 53 minutes and it has 107 posts. So Squishy told us a little bit early that the post was going to go live like during the show, so we kind of knew. And I was like, I'm spamming refresh on it, and then it went live. And he DMs me mid-show. He goes, this post is going about how I expected to. I turn over, I refresh the page. Immediately, I see it go from 0 to 31 comments in 11 minutes. And I just almost started laughing.
Oh my God.
I was like, holy shit.
I refreshed the page. Last time it had 3 tabs for comments. Now it has like 6. Oh my goodness. Yeah, people are not happy about this.
Run.
Okay, well, I guess my initial impression was maybe wrong about how this would be received, but I still think this will play better than it looks.
Hey, we knew 10 dungeons for your vault sounded stupid, so how about 30 dungeons for your KSM just so you can get invited to groups that don't wipe all day? Oh, and this bare bones reskin of a mount you just had.
That's a really good comment, actually.
Okay, one final thing for us to look at here is a new tweet from Now.
That.
Yeah,
this is that tweet so good.
So this is from the drama we were talking about earlier. Now it's from Team Echo for those new to the game, and JPC is one of the members of Ambition. This is a great tweet.
Yeah, the great joke in a theater near you this weekend. This is and there's that new Ambition logo photoshopped in there as well, which is a sweet looking logo and looks in a perfect position on a movie poster.
JPC is getting the most Twitter. Okay, this guy's got a default avatar Twitter thing. Now he has 1,200 followers. He was at like 65 2 weeks ago or some shit, and now he's at 1,200 followers on Twitter. He's reaping so many rewards from this just drama. I love it.
Yeah, I think that it is great for everybody when there's a lot of friendly banter between the top teams of this kind of thing. Okay, we got a lot of Q&A to get to, but first we get to thank our patrons real quick. They are Paul of US Proudmore, a Hago Girl of US Tichondrius, Does the Plague Borer stream, Can Delete DH get up to 3 shoutouts this week? Stay tuned at the end of the readout to find out. Tattles, Zyronic, Ashen Hallow, Fire Mage. Okay, these are not different names. This is all one name. I see.
Yes, correct.
So Tattles, Zyronic, Ashen Hallow, Fire Mage, and Convoke are 100% unethical. Jaw, Gratnos' Dino Pillow, Chromed, Trekkie, The Marsh Hare, Nevernude, Chewy, Undadtv, aka the uber new dungeon artisan discovering Titanforge viewers. It's not AMZ, it's AMZ. Trash Can of US Thrall is out of SLG prison. Congratulations.
Red.
Necris, Tankdil, Nevuk, Sidmora, Eevee, can't wait to just delete my DK for 9.1.
Felt that.
Stevenson, love the Constantinople bit. Take Light of the Protector and Frenzied Regen off the GCD. No Trick, I scheduled a Tettle's Flame. Sire Dematicus, hashtag fix Ironfur bug. Dymat, with 2 fully vaccinated residents, I now have stellar 5G signals at home. Lufer, PSA, don't zoom across the map when linked to another raid member in any way, shape, or form. Thank you. I assume that's a Sludge Fist thing. When will Blizzard implement a system that evenly distributes shoutouts among delete DHs? Drusif, Dratnos Rats Abyss, Meme DH, Meme Tam, Chronic Reroller, M Sanity, Canyon and Moon Sonara of Emerald Dream Division 7 and Area 52 Scraw, Xena, Rogue is now good enough for Prague, but still bad enough to be sat for SLG, bless up. Red Color, Some Zero of Eos Tichondrius now featuring the Hunt technology, youtube.com/workbringer, Morty died 3 times to mechanics this week, Ahara of Eos Proudmore, Kaoze's mythic team is Trash Cans and not Trash Cants, Gallic, Snicker Shelby, Alphabet Soup, Druid Friends of Evolved Gaming, and Honey Boom Boom. Thanks all for the support. This is getting long. All right, Q&A time.
Problem to have.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have. Thanks to everybody on that list for the support. All right, questions and answers. This is going to be kind of rapid fire, I guess, because we've got a lot of them here. First one comes from Sean in Discord, who asks, favorite DPS meta throughout all the M+ seasons? Please don't say triple rogue. Undadtv, what's your favorite
I was going to
DPS
say
meta?
triple rogue.
Dang. What was my favorite? It's been the same. It's just Rogue Mage X
Yeah.
for like literally ever.
3 patches at least.
Triple rogue
I guess
was
not.
sweet.
I guess not Legion.
I like
Quad
Legion.
Windwalker. Quad Windwalker gang.
I don't know. I guess season not this one. That's for sure. Definitely not this
Not
season.
this one.
This season is such a terrible. This season's awful. Maybe season 1. Like
BFA.
Okay.
a BFA.
BFA.
Like Mage didn't feel like it was uber required. Demon Hunter didn't feel like it was uber. Like it felt like Rogue was like the only real required DPS, just because things you had to do with like sap and blind and stuff with infested mobs. But you could fill the other 2 slots with kind of whatever you wanted. It just happened to be that Demon Hunter Mage was the best options. I think that probably infested, and I guess less people played then, so people missed out on that probably. But I think that meta was pretty good.
I actually love Triple Rogue. Triple Rogue was sweet because it was the only
That
time.
was Stratos' peak.
Yeah, it was sweet because look,
It was all of our peaks.
whenever anybody was
I
looking
hated
for a
Triple Rogue, man.
right, they would just invite the good rogues, right? But sometimes there would be groups that already had exhausted all the good rogues on their friends list, and so that season I got Whispers too. That was sweet.
What do you mean, dude? You played so much in season 1. You were the rogue in your group, man.
That's true. Yeah, that was
knew
the other
you were
way.
good season 1.
Yeah, you played
Yeah.
with the Disc Priest that pushed.
Yeah,
and
the BB
Yeah.
as well.
And the snap.
And
Yep.
Yeah, Snap, and then the X class you were playing if you were in a group with Snap, as you would be referred to. Demon Hunter kick,
yeah,
Mage kick.
I actually really
love
enjoyed the
Snap.
Legion meta when Warlock was meta. It's been a long time since Warlock was meta, but like Dad was saying earlier, Hellstones are really nice to have in the key, and you could do a lot of stuff back then where you summon people as they hurt them, change talents and gear. I mean, you could change gear. in the key, but-
Tettles has something to say about getting summoned to a dungeon. I remember a clip from a
Oh my god, I know what you mean.
You know, yeah, that's at like 6:30 a.m. man. Nothing goes right in a key past 5 a.m. I've come to this conclusion.
from a lower
We've
Karazhan where Maiden goes down and Tettles is just channeling Hearthstone
that's
without
right.
realizing it, and he's just, he's just loading screens and then he's in his garrison He's like, I don't need you guys to summon me.
You guys summon me. Dad had to get summoned this week, man. Mid-key. The fucking Spire's Angel just broke on you and then had to get summoned out of it.
Oh yeah, that's right. I boarded the Kyrian Airlines, where you just get, when you're going from the second to third boss platform, you just end up in the ether. And we would have depleted that key, but we were playing Warlock, so I could be summoned from where I was randomly just nowhere in the world and brought to where we were. Like there was just no way for me to get anywhere, and Warlock saved us. So,
all right, next question.
Hold on. I actually liked the last season of Legion. I know Dad said he hated it, but I thought the last season of Legion had the most diversity. But that's
I didn't hate anything in Legion. I played very casually in Legion, so I didn't really have any thoughts either way. I miss Blood DK for sure. As a DPS player, when Blood DK is good, you are hype because everything will be grouped, and then they can slow stuff themselves. They can grip stuff that moves out. I love Blood DK.
Mm-hmm.
Next question comes from Polymorph in Discord, who asks, do you see 9-1 M plus meta being double melee, double ranged, or evenly balanced between the two? I think
kind of hard to
heavy
say,
on the range still is likely, because there's still going to be those storming weeks, those spiteful weeks. I don't know.
Yeah, the affixes will for sure be just as bad like that. The dungeons themselves probably won't see too many changes. I can only see like if the seasonal affix somehow favors melee in a huge way, that could change it, but otherwise probably still double range.
Yeah, I think dungeons in general, this expansion just punish melee a lot. Like Halls of Atonement, for example, you play triple range, you take no damage from the hardest pulls of the dungeon. Awesome. You play melee, you take full damage from the shard thrashes every dungeon. Deadly thrust in every pack.
Oh my god.
Random rapid fires coming through melee. You know what I mean? Like there's just there's a lot of dungeons that are just like that. Necrotic Wake has a lot of fervent strike mechanics that melee get punished by. Let's see what else. There's some frontals in Spires. It's not as bad in Spires. Sanguine Depths has a good amount of frontals that are just very punishing, or just the fact that minions of doubt exist in the second boss ring of Spire or of Sanguine Depths, that like your melee just can't play the game. I think there's like pretty large issues with melee existing in all of the dungeons that I don't know how they fix. So I think you definitely lean towards at least double range for future seasons, probably for the whole expansion.
Next question comes from Verazan, who asks, have you guys noticed the first boss in Spires doesn't fly down anymore?
Yes. I don't know what they did, but it is omega bugged. I've never seen that before, and it happened on 90% of our Spires.
They definitely changed that.
I don't know what they did, but they did something, and it's wrong. I don't know what it is, though.
It may have been to not reset the boss.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember seeing
they
some
changed that.
in the MDI Discord, and that's probably what triggered that boss behavior change. I bet.
Right, where it reset, like how it reset for Perplexed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next one comes from Paul in Discord, who asks, if you were the chef de cuisine at a restaurant and I arrive and order your best dish stuffed with your second best dish, what is on my plate when it arrives? Your best dish stuffed with your second best dish.
Dad?
From me, you'll be getting a grilled cheese stuffed with cereal.
What do I know how to cook?
That's your first and second favorite meal.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be
what I'm best at cooking.
I make like these breakfast egg quesadillas stuffed with ramen. That's what it would be.
That doesn't sound bad.
Yeah, not bad.
Tattles or Child, either you have any exciting dishes, or do you want to move on?
Grilled kebabs stuffed with tacos?
Okay.
Let's go.
I was trying to think of something clever like to turkey key, but I really can't think of anything.
To turkey key? That's good. All right, next one comes from Cybear, who asks, question for the desk. Do you guys sell your caster curses during M+ tournaments in order to pay rent? No comment.
No.
Okay.
Money. I don't have enough.
Yeah, no comment. We wouldn't be allowed to talk about it.
All right, and our final question comes from Riley, who asks, Undad, what is your best dad joke?
I don't have any dad jokes. I'm sorry. Like, I'm undad, which is the anti-dad.
All right.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of it.
Actually, you know what? That's fine. I'll leave it.
Okay. I was waiting to see where he's gonna go with that.
All right, that's the end of our show. We'll be back on Sunday of next week. Thanks so much for coming, Undad. Where can people find you on, socials and Twitch and stuff?
Undadtv, Twitter, Twitch. I don't know what my YouTube is. I don't make any content on it anymore. I'm going to start
It's like Sad Dad TV.
Yeah,
Like
it's something.
that?
It's like
That
Sad
is what
Dad
it is.
Wow or something.
Sad Dad
is
Wow,
my
okay,
YouTube.
yeah.
I don't make any content on it right now. I plan to next season, like once Prague is over, but who knows? I say that all the time, and then I don't make any content. So, well, we'll see how that goes.
About that.
All right. Thanks for hanging out. Bye, everybody.
Bye.